In this session today, we're going to combine backbends and twists, which are often combined together. Twists are meant or said to be good for neutralizing the spine, meaning getting it back on an even keel once you've done backbends. We'll start with a breathing exercise that's I call it the fire breath, and it's done using the core muscles, the belly muscles, in a slow fashion, and it sounds and looks like this. I've got my box of tissues here because this kind of breathing clears the nasal passages, which is a very good thing. So we'll do 20 rounds of this kind of slow, punctuated exhalation with a little time in between those phases for the inhalation. Now let's begin. And yes. And my collection of props includes a chair, a couple of yoga blocks. I've got a yoga strap, and a bolster to use a little bit later for backbending openings. So let's start out with the warm-up in the lying down position. On your back, on your mat. Such a good way to begin any yoga session, just stimulating the same area, the core area, abdominal area, and the underlying organs. So bring your legs into bent leg position and then lift your feet off the floor, knees towards your chest. Rest your hands on the fronts of your knees, and let's work with breath again. Exhale, thighs towards your ribs. Inhale, straight arms, push away. And tease out the breath so that as it's lengthened, sort of dig in deeper a little bit with movement modulating the breath. This is a common enough movement, so we've probably done it before. See if you can add another element so that when you bring your thighs towards your ribs, the sitting bones are still moving towards the floor. Exhale, knees come in, but buttock bones towards the floor. And then feet placed back just near to your buttocks and separated hip width distance. Drop your arms by your side. Bend your right knee only into your chest. Reach around as you extend the leg up towards the ceiling to hold at the back of the thigh. And then the leg extended upwards. Circle your foot. So getting a little bit of a hamstring stretch. And then circle your foot just to wake up the foot bones and the ankle bones. Go the other way. And then let's flex the foot. So toes down, toes up. And feel the connection as you're moving through those foot bones with the lower leg, the upper leg, and down into the hip. And then let's release that leg and other left leg, holding at the back of the thigh or just underneath the back of the knee, and then extending the leg and circling your toes, your foot bones, your ankle bones, and the other way. And then pausing and flexing to extend the ankle, and then draw the toes down, toes up, toes down. I can feel this leg is a little bit stiffer and there's more stretch happening at the back of the leg. All right, and then replacing both feet. Separated hip width distance, both feet on the floor. Leave your arms by your side, palms downwards. And then take a moment, press the back of your head lightly into the mat. And then release. And a little pressure, not a lot, and release. And just explore the other parts of your body that might get engaged a little bit when you press back. I can feel that kind of toning the front of my neck muscles as well. And then let's leave that movement and do a shoulder press. So pressing the upper part of your back, your shoulders, and then releasing. And a little pressure, and release. Exhale, press back. So these are the areas that are really helpful in back bending movements. Your shoulders, the connection with your upper arms, and the scapula, the shoulder blades. So file away that feeling of activating the upper part of the back, and we'll draw on that later. And for now, let's practice a little back bend. Press into the outlines of your feet, your footprints, and then tuck the buttocks under and lift the pelvis slightly away from the floor. We're not coming up a lot, we're just warming up in this stage and lowering back down. You could say that in your lift through your pelvis, that you're keeping your spine still rather neutral at this point. And then coming down and using the breath. And inhalation up is what I'm doing, and exhalation down. Let's add an arm movement, and when you lift your pelvis, also lift your arms up and extend them overhead. And exhale, arms come down and pelvis comes down. Press into your feet and lift up. And arms come overhead. Lengthen the arms away from the shoulders. And exhale, replacing the arms by your side and the hips back down. Let's go one more. And hold this one and move the thigh bones away from the pelvis at the same time as you move your arms away from your shoulders. And then let's go to ground and coming down very thoughtfully from the top spine to the tailbone. Good. And then extend out both legs along the mat. And then extend just your right arm overhead. And we'll open up the side body, the lateral body, extending the right arm and the left leg away from each other. And then release any effort there. Alternately stretch and open up that side body line, and then release. Extend away and let go, and then bring the right arm back where you started and left arm overhead. And feel into this, a long side body on your left side as you extend and release. Extend away, that left foot, flex it and release. And last one, and long side body, tips of your fingers to your tips of your toes, and then release, and both arms by your side. Bend your legs in, and let's practice a little twist here, a very little one, and still in this warming up phase. Move your arms away from the side of your body at a little distance, and then legs bent, feet on the floor near to your buttocks. Drop your knees to the right side, look to the left. Bring those knees up and center and to the left. And let's alternate that a few times. Inhale up, exhale side and twist. Next time you bring your knees over, then bring the opposite arm over, and we'll roll up and all the way to standing. And take a position on your mat. We're going to work with the help of the block. So grab your yoga block. And insert said block between your thighs just above your knees. And it could be very narrow, or it could be the next range, which is mid-range. And that's what I'm using. And then hug in against the block lightly. And you might feel that in the outer hips supporting as well, hugging into center. Right, feel your 2 feet firmly on the ground. Lift your toes, stretch them apart and stretch them forward, and then bring them back down. And divide the weight between your forefoot and your heel. Soften a little bit behind the backs of your knees. And then let's do a really simple movement. Bring the arms out to the side at shoulder height. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Feel the rotation in the upper arm as you do that. And then bring the arms up overhead. Bring the arms halfway down and palms down, and then back down to your side. Let's do that with a partial forward bend, hinging at the hip fold, and bring the arms out wide to the side. Come halfway down to the floor. Lengthen the torso forward. You're still looking down at the floor a little bit in front of your mat. And then turn your palms up towards the ceiling and let your arms bring you up with the knees unlocked, and all the way up and down to your side. Let's do that again. Inhale and bring the arms out at shoulder height. Turn your palms down to the floor. Bend forward, hinging at the hips. And then let's complete forward fold and bring your arms all the way down. Wherever they land is probably appropriate at this stage for you, holding your legs, or you might reach all the way to the floor. Bend your knees slightly to come up. Sweep your arms out to the side. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling as you start to lengthen all the way up and reach up, and exhale, arms back down. Good. Let's keep using the block between the thighs. I'm just going to move on to a little firmer footing, so off my mat. So I feel a little bit more grounded because we're going to do a heel rise in this manner. So let's take chair pose. Bend your knees, bring your arms up alongside your ears. And then let the heels come up any amount that you're prepared to do at this moment. So you're balancing on your forefoot in chair pose. And then keep the heels up as much as you can, all the way up to lengthening up, and lower your arms down and your heels down. Let's do that a little bit more alacrity this time. Inhale, bend your knees, bring your arms up, raise your heels up, and can you come all the way up, straight legs standing, reaching up, and exhale, arms and heels come down. Last one of those, practicing our balance, and knees bend for chair pose, arms come up. Good. Let's hold it there a little bit longer. Move your buttock bones back and tilt the tailbone up. Create your heel rise, and on the ball of the foot, and especially on the inside of your foot, and straight legs, reach up and exhale down. Good. And let's take the block away for the time being. And I'm needing to use a strap for these arm and shoulder stretches. So see if you need one to have one nearby. And then Gomukhasana arms. Raise your left arm up towards the ceiling. Bend your elbow, reach your hand back behind the shoulder, and then hold your elbow for a moment. So without tugging it or any attitude of wrenching the elbow, just feel like the upper arm is stretching from your armpit to your elbow as your hand is reaching down your back. Let's add the other arm and stretch it out to the side. Roll your shoulder forward, a little forward bend, and then reach that hand back and connect as you can. Your fingers close to each other or farther apart, and using the belt to connect the hands if you need to. I'm good to go on this side and I can catch hold, but we'll see what happens on the second side. And then release. Give your arms a good stretch out to the side, palms upwards, open up your fingers, open up your palms. And then let's go side two, and right arm up. Not in a hurry, bend the elbow. Hold the elbow with your left hand for a moment and stretch the front of the arm. And then let's see what happens on this side. And roll the shoulder, a little forward bending and reaching back. And this is where my belt comes in very handy for me. And connecting. And that bottom wrist for me, I get a good wrist stretch if I press the wrist into my back where my back ribs are. And then let's all let that go. And these movements will help you when we do a little back bending farther along. All right, let's take up a bolster. So I've got this fairly round bolster, or at least the end of it is round, and that's where I'm going to lie down face up and have my shoulder blades on the end of the bolster. So take a position where you're straddling over the bolster, feet on either side of it. Have a seat on the bolster approximately in the middle. Support yourself onto your hands and your feet, and then gradually roll down until your shoulders almost touch down to the floor, and the butt end of the bolster supports your shoulder blades, somewhere in the general area of the shoulder blades. So it could be the middle of your shoulder blades. I happen to have the bolster at the bottom edge of the scapula. And keep your legs bent and your feet on the floor on either side. Arms are loose and a little distance from the side of your body. And let yourself settle down into the bolster. And you've been there long enough so that you can assess for your own body whether you're in the right place. So there's kind of a sweet spot that I look for when I'm doing this, where it feels like I can settle and I'm not, kind of planning the soonest exit from the pose. So you might move up a little bit higher onto the bolster or a little further back, and looking for that optimum position. And then we'll stay for one more minute just so that you can get the sense of support that the bolster gives you. And then maybe you can add to this by lifting your pelvis slightly and moving your tailbone away towards the opposite end of the bolster. Leave the back at rest on the bolster, the buttocks at rest. The shoulders, maybe by now, are completely resting on the floor. Before we finish, fold your arms so that you can hold your elbows, and then extend your arms overhead with the elbows bent, holding the elbows, and lengthen as much as you can from the armpits to the elbow tips. And then let's bring the arms all the way forward and down again. And then instead of rolling to the side, slide back off the bolster or push the bolster away from underneath you and bring the buttocks down to the floor. So you've done a really nice opening for your upper part of your back. We're going to practice doing some back bending movements and alternating with some twisting movements. For the twist now, get your chair and come up to standing. Place the chair at the wall, so I like to do that for safety, so it doesn't slide away from you, and have the seat of the chair facing you. We'll do this nice warm-up, which we call vinyasa. So facing the chair, step your right foot forward, and it's very near to the seat of the chair, and step your left foot back. Right foot forward, left foot back, with a little space between the upper part of your thighs. Bring your hands onto your hips, square off your hips, and bend your right knee over your right ankle. And in your partial lunge position here, keep the hips still square, so the left hip lines up with the right. And then bring your arms forward and up, and straight up. And then see if you can create that sensation in your upper part of your back. So a little lean back into your back leg, tilt your chin up, and this is sometimes called a back bend in the standing pose category, because you are working that way of working with the shoulder blades. And then chin comes down and arms come down. And we're going to step up left foot to right and right foot back. So we haven't quite gotten to the twists, but we're doing these accessible warm-ups. Bend your left leg to that lunge position. Keep your back leg strong, and what you might do is tone the right buttock, tone the hamstrings at the back of the leg, and then bring your arms up. Tilt your chin up and feel into your upper back again, your shoulder blades supporting in the upper part of your back. And then lower your arms, straighten your leg, step up, one smooth movement, and left foot back. Let's add another part to this. So the pose is warrior one. Bend your right leg, bring your arms up, reach up, and then lower your chin, and we take a forward bend for Parvivrtta Trikonasana. Straight right leg, bring your hands down, and forward bend over the right leg. Draw the right hip back, bring the front of the left hip forward. Flex your right knee, press into your right foot, back to your lunge, and warrior one, and arms up. And exhale, straight leg, arms down by your side. Step up, step back, right foot. Inhale, working with your breath. Exhale, forward bend, front leg straightens, and bring your hands down onto the seat of the chair. Take your forward bend, draw the outer left hip back, bring the right hip forward. Take your lunge as you lift up. Good, feel that in your upper part of your back again. Exhale, arms down, straight leg, step up, right foot to left. All right, at last, we'll move into more of that rotational movement. Step left foot back. Now we work with the legs straight. Keep your hands onto your hips, then adjust the hips so that they're square and level. Take a forward bend here, forward fold, so hinging from the tops of the thighs. Keep your right hand on your right hip and reach your left hand out and place it on the seat of the chair, but so it lines up with the right leg. Left hand in the same line as the right leg. And then turn as much as you're ready to rotate and turn towards the right side. Right shoulder comes back. Right elbow might come back a little bit more. And you're looking upward. And then looking down again. Flex your right knee a little bit to come up, and two hands onto the hips, and step up, and right foot back. Good, and squaring off your hips. Keep your left hand onto your left hip. Turn a little, so you're looking towards the left side, and then hinge from the tops of your thighs and bring your right hand down in the line of your left leg. Good. Support yourself with your straight right arm. Turn and rotate towards the left side. The left side comes around a little bit more, but the right side comes back, right shoulder, right elbow. Beautiful. And then turning back and looking down, and flex the left knee a little bit, press into your foot, two hands onto your hips, and step up. And we'll go one more round to complete that pose, which is the twisting version of Trikonasana. 2 hands onto your hips. This time, bring your right hand, the flat of your right hand, your palm against your sacrum with your fingers pointing down. This time, bring your left arm up towards the ceiling and get that length that we were establishing in the beginning of the session all along the lateral side of your body. Then hinge from the tops of your thighs and reach out towards the top of the chair or the wall in front of you, and almost reluctantly bringing your left hand down in front of your right leg. Turn as much as you can towards the right side. And then let's see what it's like in your shoulder movement to bring the right arm up towards the ceiling. Of course, if that feels like it's wrenching the shoulder in any way, then keep your elbow bent and your hand onto your hip. Good. That left hip now has dropped a little bit, the right hip is lifted, and that's fine movement. Right hand, right hip. Look back towards your left hand and down. Bend your front knee. Bring your left arm up towards the ceiling. Hand to your hip. Step up. And other side. Right foot back. We start nice and square. Left hand flat of your palm onto your lower back, your sacrum. Bring your right arm up towards the ceiling. Turn a little bit to start with. Get a head start. And then cast that arm forward and downwards and place it onto the seat of the chair. And then turn as much as you can. Turn right to left. When you've done as much of that as you can, then explore how that arm and shoulder movement work for you on this side. And by all means, keep your hand onto your hip if it's too strong a movement for you. And looking up. And then look down at your right hand. We're ready to move. Left hand, left hip. Bend your front knee a little bit, and then bring your arm up towards the ceiling. And 2 hands onto your hips. Step up. And it might be a really pleasant thing to do here, a modified dog pose stretch using the chair. So reach your hands onto the side of the chair, step back. And you can't exactly see your dog pose position, but as much as you can, the legs a little bit on a slant. And then lift your tailbone, extend the buttocks back, away from the ribs back away from your shoulders. Avoid dropping your head. Keep your ears in line with your upper arms. And maybe lift your kneecaps, lift your thigh muscles, lift your core muscles up into your body. And then let's wander forward and coming all the way up. And we'll take a lying down position on the mat for a version of cobra pose. So let's lie belly down and head facing the short end of the mat. Fold your arms and rest your head onto your folded hands. Do a little shake out of your bum muscles and relax your shoulders. And without anticipating anything here, just allow yourself to feel grounded through the prone position as we approach Bhujangasana or Cobra. So let the weight of your body sink down into the floor. Have your legs together or just a little bit apart, and then bring weight to bear onto your pubic bone. Feel that as the beginning of lengthening the lower part of your spine. And then draw the low belly up from your pubic bone to your navel center. So the lower body is supportive, pubis down, low belly up. And then from here, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and your elbows up along the sides of your rib cage. Do a little check-in, and we know in the upper arms they are the biceps and the triceps. Now, the triceps are the part of your upper arm that's facing the ceiling. So draw the triceps back towards the elbows and feel your shoulders coming back. Keep your fingers spread, your thumbs spread. You've got a good base of support there. And then just merely, your head still resting on the mat, lift your hands a fraction off the floor and feel your upper back muscles engage. And then bring your hands back down. Triceps are still moving back towards your elbows, elbows into your ribs, and then lift your hands once more. The hands come up and resting. And this time when your hands come up, lift your head up just a fraction off the floor. Check those alignment details again. Pubis down, navel up, and then bring your head down and bring your hands down. Do that one more time. Hands come up, feel your upper back. Head comes up a little bit. And then your head resting and your hands down. This last time, hands come up, head comes up. Keep your head up. Press your hands into your mat. Feel the outline of your fingers, your thumbs, pressing down into your hands, and come up any amount that you're prepared to do that at the moment. Keep your upper back active. And then lengthen forward and down, and rest once more. One more time for Bhujangasana. Lower body engaged, pubis and navel, and inhale and lift your head, press your hands down fully, keep your elbows close to your side and looking out towards the horizon, or maybe even tilting your chin up this time. And all the way down, and once you touch down, fold your arms again, rest your head onto your folded hands. Bend your legs, both legs bent, and then circle your feet. And the other way. And then let your legs fall back and be supported onto the mat. Let's take one more back bend here. So arms extended overhead, extend the arms on the floor at a diagonal position. So my arms wider than my shoulders, and I'm going to take my legs out into that wide position too. That matches my arm position. So if I were to look at my position from overhead, it would look like a kind of a X, a big X. Keep your forehead resting onto the mat. And lengthen the arms from the shoulders to the tips of the elbows. Lengthen the legs from the hip joint to the tips of your toes. We're going to do a little movement, a cross lateral movement. So as you lift your head, lengthen your breastbone forward, and then lift your right arm and your left leg. And they're extending in opposite directions. And then release down. Head comes down, arms come down. Opposite, left arm, right leg, And head is up, moving the breastplate forward, and exhale down. If we do this a little more quickly, it's right arm, head comes up, left leg, release down, left arm, right leg, release down. One more, and right arm, left leg, opposite, left arm, right leg. So now you're feeling the glutes and the hamstrings working for you. And then bring your legs in close, fold your arms, rest your head onto your folded arms. I think we can combine a preparation for headstand movement with a back bending movement. So bring yourself to lift up head and shoulders, and then come onto your elbows and interlock your hands with your weight onto your wrists, your forearms, your elbows. Step your elbows in a little bit closer. And when we do this as a preparation for headstand, our legs are like dog pose legs. Now our legs are like crocodile's tail. So the legs close together or touching, and then keep the pubis pressing down, draw the low belly up. Now you're well positioned to lift your chest up. As you lift your chest up, then draw the shoulder blades in. So we're retracting the shoulder blades to get the chest open from the front. And then just so you have the experience of what it's like, then allow yourself to drop and collapse a little bit. And then press your wrists again and lift up out of that collapse so the chest is high, lifted and moving forward. Right, from here, lift your right, bend your right leg, bring your right heel towards your right buttock, and release that leg back. And now left heel towards your left buttock, and drop that leg back. So I'm working my back leg, upper leg, my hamstrings to do this movement. So with your foot pointing, your toes pointing, heel to buttock and drop, and then heel to buttock and drop. Let's add one more thing, which is kind of a brain boggle. That's what I call it. Bring your right heel towards your right buttock, and then flex your right foot and bring it in again. Drop that leg, point your toes, bring your left heel to your buttock, flex your foot, bring your heel towards your buttock. So it's a little bit like a double kick. Toes, heel, toes, heel. Notice if you collapsed and lift up again. And one more time. You got that mixed up. And left leg, and then release, and then come down and have your hands underneath your shoulders again. We're just going to use this as an approach to coming out of the pose. So press your hands down alongside your ribs, lift up your head and your chest, and begin to come back slowly, buttocks towards your heels. You've been in a back bending position and you're moving into forward bending. So take that really quietly. Be kind to your knees and lowering buttocks towards your heels. Keep your arms well extended forward, your elbows lifted. You might be able to inch your hands a little further forward. So you're getting a really long line of your arms. And then draw your hands in towards your knees and come all the way up to standing. All right, and we'll finish that way of working with the back bends with twisting movements. So take your chair and we'll be able to sit on it. Side saddle. So, oops, I didn't catch this in time, but have your seat so that your left side is facing the back of the chair. That'll be easier for me to follow my directions. So left side is facing the back of the chair, side saddle. Bring your hands onto the top of the chair. Lift your elbows so that the shoulders, the collarbones, the shoulder blades are wide. And turn a little bit towards the back of the chair. There's a way of working in twisting movements where you can be quite aggressive and pull yourself into different shapes of a twist. So if you just leave your hands onto the top of the chair and allow that movement to come more organically and even with your breath. So on your inhales, you are creating space. On your exhaling breath, creating rotation. Work with your belly muscles like you did in the early part of the warm-up. Good. And then let's take opposite side. So right side facing the back of the chair. You've got my back now. And both hands on the top of the chair. Good. Lift your elbows and feel the span of your collarbones. And then we're working in that thoughtful way of turning with the breath. Notice the shoulders are hunched at all. Roll the shoulders down and back. Twists are a good way to practice drishtis, that attention to what your eyes are looking at, what you're focusing on. And let's go back to the first side. Left side facing the back of the chair. And we might dig in a little more deeply, not so much physically, but with our attention. Rest your hands onto the top of the chair again, elbows up. Good. As we're turning the pelvis as well. So not trying to hold it in a straightened position. So the right knee comes a little forward here as you're turning to the left. And then pay attention to the upper part of your back as you have in a few other positions. And allow the left shoulder blade to come in closer to the spine. Allow the right shoulder blade, on the other hand, to wing out a little bit farther away from the spine. And see if those two adjustments together help you turn a little bit more. Left shoulder blade retracts, the other shoulder blade widens out. All right, and well done. And then let's come back forward, facing forward, out of the chair, and other side. So feel your 2 feet firmly on the floor, your 2 sitting bones firmly onto the chair. Reach your hands to support you. Elbows up and turning. And little by little, in small increments, right shoulder blade in, left shoulder blade wide. Right shoulder blade retracts. And it might feel that the left side of your collarbone is lengthening a little bit as that left shoulder blade widens. And looking back, and there's the focus, the drishti. Okay, good. And then let it all go. And let's come off the chair. Done some nice work there. And we'll do a supported forward bend. And that will be followed by one more twist. So keep a blocket handy, but let's take support at the wall. So with your backside supported by the wall, buttocks and back of your head, step your feet out so that you're, like a half meter away from the wall. Then rest your hands onto the front of your thighs and begin a very small movement hinging forward from the tops of your thighs. And as I do this, and you might experience the same thing, the buttocks start to slide up the wall a little bit. Keep the knees a little soft here as you come into your forward bending. Draw the navel center up into the body. And there is a place where it feels like, well, I'm not going to get any more forward bending happening. And you might just look to, at this point, can I straighten my legs a little bit more? And at this point, can I lengthen through my side body more? Consider that length in moving forward and down from the outer shoulder blades to the elbows. And then finally release the back of the neck. So from C7 to the base of your skull, from the base of your skull to the crown of your head. And just stretching out those hamstrings that we used in the twist, backbending movements. Bring your hands up onto your legs, onto your thighs just above your knees. Bend your knees over your ankles and inhale and come up to standing. All right, and then in the last of the twisting poses, take your block and place it in front of your right foot on the high end at an arm's length reach. Let's start from standing and take a forward bend, hinge from the tops of your thighs. Reach your right hand out and place it onto the top of the block. And then lift up a little bit and come slightly forward so your weight is more on the forefoot. Beautiful. Your head is up, you're looking up and over that block. With your left hand, bring your left hand on the outside of your right leg, on your calf muscle or your outer ankle, and then bend both of your elbows and duck your head down as though you wanted to bring it underneath your right arm to the right side. Bending your elbows, left elbow comes down a little nearer to the floor, right elbow out to the right side, and the back is broad. Good. Release and come up a little bit and place your block on the high end in front of the left foot. We don't have to come out of the pose to do that. But do press your left hand down on the top of the block, lift up, and bring your chest a little more forward. Shift your weight onto the forefoot more. And then as you bend that left elbow, bend your right elbow, place your right hand on the outside of your calf muscle, and draw yourself in that rotational movement towards the left side. Left elbow comes down a little bit, right elbow out to the right. Left elbow out to the right elbow towards the floor. Good. Let it all go. Flex your feet. Bring your hands onto your hips. Press your hips down onto your legs. Inhale and push off and come up to standing. And we're going to get back to using the bolster again for the completion of this session. All right, bolster placed long ways on your mat. We'll use it to lie on again in Setubandhasana. So I have my block at the wall on the high end, and you might want to watch the demonstration first, is when I take, similarly to what I did at the beginning of the session with the chest opener, I'm going to sit in the with my feet on either side of the bolster, sitting on the middle of the bolster, and then this time my legs are supported and heels up onto that block. When I lower down, I want those two things to be working for me. My legs supported, my heels supported up onto the block, so my hips and my legs and my heels are at the same height. Now you had the trial run of placing your upper back on the bolster. We want that end of the bolster to open up the upper part of our back. And see if you are in the right position. You might have to adjust your props. You might have to adjust your body on the support. If it feels like the lower back has shortened too much, it feels pinched in any way, you might have your feet on either side of the bolster like you did in the beginning, and that takes some pressure off the low back. Or with your feet down like mine are, lift your buttocks and lengthen your tailbone away from you. And we'll stay for a few minutes. So look for as much comfort, either legs bent and your feet on the floor, or your legs elevated in the manner that I'm demonstrating. Your arms like Shavasana, out at a little distance from the side of your side of your rib cage. Or if you really like to have a big opening through the upper part of your back, you might fold your arms and rest your arms on the floor, folded overhead. So what I notice when I do this, and I don't mean this to predict what might be so for you, you have your own experience of it, is that in the beginning my back feels quite stiff, and that's probably because it is. But as I'm here a little bit longer, it seems some of that resistance lets go, and I yield to more of the support of the bolster. And to create more of the sense of that yielding, bring your focus to the diaphragm ribs. You could even palpate there and encourage the ribs to relax into the lower part of your torso, downward and inward, rather than being thrusted upwards. And that is easier to experience if your arms are just by your side. So a general feeling of letting go, surrendering the physical body. And let's be very considerate of our body as we begin to move out of this pose. So when you bend your legs and have your feet on either side of the bolster, take another few breaths there. And then practice this technique of lifting your hips up and either pulling the bolster off to the side or pushing back so that your buttocks are on the floor. And we stay in this bent leg position, supported by the floor, for another several breaths. Take these last moments just to do a check-in with your physical body. Feel if there's still any resistance to letting go the weight of the back body, head and shoulders, upper back, sacrum in particular. And in a moment we'll come up and we'll take a seat to complete the session. Sitting cross-legged or sitting on your bolster in hero pose. And come on up. Once seated, then find your comfortably upright position, the spine long, shoulders relaxed. And to complete the session, bring your hands together in prayer position. The hands rest, the thumbs rest towards the heart center. And if you lift your elbows a little bit, you might bring back some of that sensation of supporting through the upper back that we've been cultivating. And then bring your chin down a little bit as we elevate the heart and feel your own heart energy or the warmth and goodness of your own heart. Grateful for the practice, gratitude for being able to come together and practice. Namaste.